everyone, welcome back to my channel and a very unexpected speed build. I did not plan explicitly on posting another one this soon. There will be one on Friday. I already have that built and edited, but I was scrolling through Twitter this morning and I saw this shell challenge, and the challenge ended ends on the 25th, hence this video and me building it now. I saw it and knew that I really wanted to do it, and not only because the prize is Nifty Knitting, which is a pack that I would really love to have, but also because the shell just looked so interesting, and looking at it I couldn't figure out what I was going to do with it, so it seemed like it would be a fun challenge to place it down and basically sit with it and figure out what I was going to do. So it did take me a minute, and I think right about now is when I'm figuring out exactly what I'm doing, which is to make this into a summer camp. Obviously it won't function explicitly like a summer camp, but I think it has everything on the lot that it needs to be just a regular lot, like regular residential lot, except for a trash can, because I forgot that, and they're the bane of my existence, and I've forgotten them in so many builds. But if you download this, all it needs is a trash can, I think. But like I've mentioned before, I'm still pretty new to The Sims, so I could be forgetting something. But yeah, roofing this was probably one of the biggest frustrations. Obviously it took me a long time. You can actually see it placed down in the lot next to this as well when I was experimenting with it before I really got going on the build. And I ended up deciding to place it on a larger lot, which is good because I ended up needing all that space to build the forest around the summer camp that I decided to create. So yeah, I'm just kind of figuring out the bare bones of this before I move to the inside to do the furnishings, because those are actually kind of the least important part of this particular build to me. I really just wanted to get the inside out of the way because I knew the outside was going to be the main focal point. So yeah, figuring out the foundation. The windows took me so long because the front of this build is so oddly shaped that I couldn't figure out exactly what shape and size window to put and where they should be put. So I moved to the back because I knew I wanted the deck to be just full windows, and put the fences there, and then eventually I'll move back to the front and really try to figure out what I'm doing. And it took many tries to really hammer down exactly what the look was going to be, but I'm happy with how it ended up anyways. I also knew that a lot of this was going to be covered by foliage, so it wasn't super important, but I did want to make sure it looked decent at least, and I think it does. I think it looks good. I'm most proud of this build from the back, but you know, I think it still was worth the effort to make sure that it looked okay at least. So yeah, I finally figured out to use these base game windows that matched the door that I used in the front, and it's the mega set that has it's like a full living set of everything, doors, windows, stuff like that, and I don't really use it that often, but it's like the perfect style for this build. So I finally moved inside and started figuring out the floor plan, which was another huge struggle because it is, once again, such a strange shape, but I love it for that. It was so much fun trying to figure out what I was going to do. I knew that this main area was going to be very sparsely furnished because I wanted it to feel kind of like when you first get to summer camp, and at least summer camps that I've been to that have all these mismatched furniture and bookshelves everywhere and just lots of comfy chairs to hang out in, and like board games everywhere, which I didn't end up doing, but there's lots of big tables for people to hang out and chat at, and I do think I put a chess table in the main lobby as well, just adding more details to the outside to give it more of that kind of lodge vibe. And then I think, oh yeah, I figured out these lights up here, which it was literally, I just wanted to make sure it was illuminated. I didn't super care what it looked like. I put a little rug there, and then I think moved on to furnishing the bunk room, possibly. So I decided to make this like the actual like quote-unquote living space, or just the bunk room, literally. And obviously we don't have in-game bunk beds, so I just took these beds from Discovery University and raised a second one on top. Obviously the one on top isn't functional, But there are several functional beds in the build, so there is places for your sim to sleep. I didn't playtest the bottom bunks, so I'm not sure if they work, but there are some other beds, other places that do work. And I just wanted to decorate this to feel like a cluttered kind of area. I didn't put as much clutter in here as I originally thought I was going to, because I kind of wanted it to feel like the off season, like maybe there's just a couple of people here for maybe like a winter term or something. I made this little window seat by using some small cabinets lowered all the way to the ground, and then these little poofs from Spa Day, like I did actually in the speed build that's going to come out on Friday. I did a similar thing. And then just figuring out more decorations. I felt like these pennants were maybe there's a summer long competition or something that they all participate in, or maybe their favorite sports teams, counselors, or previous campers. Put a couple of these backpacks around. I think I ended up deleting the one on top of the bed because it just wasn't working, and tried to figure out what to do with this wall, but I just ended up putting a mirror there, a standing mirror, because, when in doubt, add a mirror. And I think that's almost it for this room. Yeah, I'm just using Tool to try to figure this out. It didn't end up working for that bag because it glitched for some reason. I just didn't want to figure it out. And then I just used Tool to make sure that this actually looked like it was resting on the bench. Yeah, now I'm going to furnish the main living area with, like I mentioned, shelves, comfy places to sit, and some tables to hang out in. I did also kind of make a pseudo front desk with some computers on it, like maybe when you check into camp, this is where you'll go, and there'll be some counselors sitting there who can get you on your way to your right bunk and everything like that. Yeah, I thought about putting arrows to the different bunk rooms, but I ended up in the end only having one bunk room, so that wouldn't have worked out anyways. Put a little bulletin board there, like maybe that has all the information about all the activities going on around camp. And then this is the counselor's room. I just put 2 twin beds in here and pretty much put the bare essentials, so there's a dresser in here as well. Lots of Discovery University. I swear I had never used this pack much until I started doing speed builds, and I feel like I now use everything from it all the time. But yeah, just putting some stuff on the walls, maybe that's their schedule, and then just some more decorations and a mirror, because always with the mirrors. And then I think we move on to, doing a few more things in here, and then putting together what I thought was going to be the second bunk room, but ended up not working out. Or mayhaps the bathroom. Oh, the showers. Okay, so I decided to use this little small kind of shed area that was a part of the shell to build a separate shower room, because there are several camps I've been to where your bathrooms are separate, in separate room buildings from your cabins. This space didn't have enough room for both the showers and the toilets though, so I decided just to make it the shower area. Put a little counter in there to fill up that odd corner and some clutter on it, and that's literally it. Super duper simple. And then, just kind of making a pseudo deck area out front. For some reason the foundation would not attach to that one wall there, so I just kind of cover it up a bit with plants later. And then figuring out the toilet situation in here was also very difficult because of the odd shape of the shell, but I did it in the end, kind of. I did after I went in to do screenshots and realized I forgot to playtest what I ended up putting the toilets like, and did have to make some arrangements to make sure that they were functional, but you'll see when we get to the end and actually tour the build. I didn't make a huge change, I just shifted a door around. There was lots of playtesting in this build though to make sure things worked, and most of the time they did, although I did have several occasions where they didn't, especially one after I thought the build was well and truly done, which sucked, but it was a pretty easy fix once I figured out what the problem was. There are a lot of plants that I used later that one in particular I didn't realize had such a large footprint and thus blocked your Sims from walking around it in a large area, and so I had to go and move those around to make sure that they could get through all the pathways that I had put down. I just raised it a little bit so that you could see the stilts in the foundation better, because I felt like they were a really big part of the aesthetic. And then this is what I thought was going to be the second bunk room, and I did go in and like arrange it and everything and put all these beds in it, and it just ended up not working out. So I'll come back later and turn it into a kitchen, because I felt like the build needed one. I had initially planned on not putting one, like maybe they get all their food from like an off-site location and have it brought here daily or something, but I decided that I wanted it to be largely functional if you wanted to actually come play in it, so I decided to add a full kitchen later on. But yeah, I did spend some time with this, figuring out the decorations and everything, and I actually left it and thought that I was going to have it like that, and it just ended up not working out. So here I figured there needed to be some more tables and like gathering spaces in the main part of the build, so I decided to put in some more tables, and then I ended up switching one of these for a chess table so that there's a bit more activities for your Sims to do. And I think it worked out pretty nicely. I knew from the beginning I wanted it to be pretty sparsely furnished, so I didn't want to over add things, and I think I got the right ratio of making it look lived in, but also like that is definitely not the main focal point of the build, or the camp, as you will. So yeah, I added more tables out on the deck, just more places to gather and hang out, maybe play some card games and the like, or read a book outside. And I think here's where I really get going on the whole forest camp vibe. In a second here, I'm gonna, pull out a fishing hole, which is fully functional. Your Sims can come fish in it. I tested it multiple times to make sure, and I knew that I wanted some sort of other water feature to be a part of this other than just the pool, because I felt like that was a very camp thing to have. So I decided to grab one of those out of Debug and add it to the side of the build, and I really like how it turned out. I think it really added to the camp vibes that I was going for. And then we'll start properly landscaping, because there's a couple more build elements that I wanted to add, but I wanted to make sure that I knew where all of my biggest trees were going to be, so I wasn't going to be clipping into any roofs or anything with those. So I am about to start pulling some massive trees out of Debug. They get even bigger than this one, which I was so pleased to find these giant trees that matched the Willow Creek world to really add like the top of the canopy of this lot, because it is pretty much entirely covered in greenery from the overhead. There's a screenshot later of the overhead view where you really cannot see anything but trees, which is exactly what I wanted. Trying to figure out what to do with that pool was very tough, but I am very happy with what I ended up doing with it later on. I think it was one of the last things that I got to, but I think it turned out really well. And then here, I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do for the floor of what I termed the dining pavilion, because I figured there wasn't enough space in the main build to make a proper like mess hall or anything like that, so I thought it would be outside, which a lot of the camps I've been to have had outdoor dining, because there's oftentimes so many of you that it would be ridiculous to try to put you inside, and also why not? You're at camp, hang out outside. So that's what I did here. I actually made it a room so I can add a roof to it, but then I deleted the room so it wasn't hopefully not at least breaking any of the rules of the shell challenge. I decided in the end to just use terrain paint for the bottom of this, some of the like grassy dirt, and then these little pebbles that I absolutely adore. I think they're so cute. And then I added these hedges to kind of be like privacy walls around the dining hall, so it at least feels like a little separate part of camp. And then I went in and added picnic tables, because of course it had to be picnic tables out here, and a grill as well, so that you can have a cookout out here. And this was before I realized I was going to add a kitchen to the build, so I needed to have some way for Sims to have something to eat in the dining pavilion. just adding some lights. These are from Discovery University. I really like them. I like the swatches on them, and I've been using them quite often. Yeah, just adjusting the terrain paint now that I had all the furniture down, and then adding some clutter to the top of the tables to really sell that like cookout kind of vibe out here. And here I think is where I go in and decide to do the kitchen. Yeah, the walls for this took a long time to figure out because that particular like passageway is just such an odd shape. And the counters in here took forever to work out. The room just is not suited to putting counters in and not having them like clip all over the place, which was really annoying me, so I ended up figuring out some hacks for that later on. There's still some spaces where it definitely does clip, but not as much as it was when I was originally building it. And then the cabinets as well were also really hard to figure out, so I ended up actually rearranging how I have the fridge and everything in here to kind of mitigate this like hodgepodge of trying to fit things together to make them look cohesive, and it just wasn't working. I think pretty soon I'm going to move the fridge into this odd shaped corner because that just ended up being the best deal. Oh right, I skipped that because it took me so long with the counters, but we are coming to the outside now, obviously, to really get into the terrain here and the landscaping, which was probably the longest part of the build because there is so much of it. I think all of it is exclusively debug, so it doesn't thankfully make the lot super expensive. And yeah, I just pretty much pulled out everything that I thought looked good and rearranged them everywhere. My goal was to make it look as overgrown as possible in the spaces that were not intended to be used, because I wanted it to have this very like secret place kind of vibe. And since I don't own any packs in any of the more like a Jungle Adventure or anything, any of those worlds, I had to place it in Willow Creek, I wanted it to feel as much like a summer camp as possible, even with the city around. So yeah, lots and lots of debug bushes and trees, and those big like curved like almost palm tree looking like objects are the ones that ended up causing me so many issues later on, because their footprint is absolutely huge for whatever reason. So I had to go remove or move a lot of them to make sure that the build was functional. And that was really frustrating, but it worked out, and I still left a bunch of them in because they're in areas where Sims aren't supposed to be walking anyways, so it's fine. I just skipped over a huge part of me trying to figure out what grass I was going to use, and I thought I was going to just size up some stuff and some of the like Lily of the Valley squares and stuff to put under there, or then I started using wild grass. I legitimately spent like an hour placing small grass patches everywhere to make it look more dimensional, and I just decided I didn't like how it worked and deleted everything, so I had to replace the trees over there as well. But in the end, I think it was worth it, because I don't think I would have been happy with leaving the grass like that. Just adding more and more trees everywhere, all different types, and I kind of just threw caution to the wind with trying to make it fit in with the outside world in regards to the types of plants and trees that I was using, because it was already so unrealistic that for Willow Creek at least, it looks nothing like the place where it is. Or I think it's in Newcrest, actually. I'm a liar. It's in Newcrest. And so here I decided to go in and add some columns to the top of the pool and then make a little like gazebo pavilion kind of vibe to make it match the dining pavilion next door, and also to give it a bit more interest, to make it look a bit fancier, I guess. I mean, none of this looks fancy. It's supposed to be a summer camp, but just to make it more interesting, I guess. So then I decided to go through and kind of walk the paths myself to make sure that the paths were the most detailed part of the build, because I just thought it would be ridiculous to try to landscape every part of the lot like this. So I decided to just walk the paths and make sure they looked as cluttered with plants as possible, and then to kind of allow the rest of the lot to taper off. I placed as many things as I thought I could and then decided to move on because it would have taken me way too long to actually do that level of detail with the entire lot. But I did make sure that all around the build and all around the areas that are supposed to be functional, there is many, many, many plants. Many objects, I guess. But yeah, this is coming to the end of the build. I think I'm just checking now. I'm looking at everything, making sure I think it's all right. Like I said, I did have to go change things later, but that's it. Here we are in the build proper. This is what it looks like from the outside up above. Like I said, the canopy is huge, which is exactly what I wanted. It looks so much like a forest, which is exactly what I was going for, so I was really happy with that. I did mention in the voiceover that I forgot a trash can, so I did pull it off the gallery and go ahead and add a trash can and then put it back on the gallery. So it's there for you now if you want to go get it now fully furnished with a trash bin. But yeah, let's just walk through all the best parts of the build. Let's dive into the front. This is the very front entrance. I used these banners from Discovery University that I've been trying to find something to do with forever. And I did after the recording finished this of me building it. I did go in and add outdoor lights because I realized I'd forgotten them. And then we can just come straight through the front door here into the main gathering space. Little front desk, like I mentioned, for Sims to check in when they get to camp. Bookshelves, some comfy chairs and everything. And then this is the bunk room. Dressers, fake bunk beds with, oh, okay, great. The bottom ones do work. My Sim is currently asleep there, so they do all work. Although it does look odd with the plumb bombs sticking up there. And yeah, very simple decorations, not a lot of clutter because, like I said, maybe it's the off season. And then let's just very quickly scoot over here into the kitchen, or right outside of the kitchen at least. Okay, here we go. Apparently the roof's clipping in up here because that part of the ceiling was open and I wasn't sure if I was allowed to cover it. So if you download it, you can just fix this by covering up this hole in the ceiling. But you can't see it when you're in live mode, so it doesn't really matter. So yeah, like I said, I moved the fridge over here, added these decorations, and just went with the cabinetry looking like this. Wall decorations, I almost said dresser, dishwasher, oven, stove, sink, decorations. And then what I did to kind of fix the clipping issue and make it look a bit better, obviously it's still clipping a bit, but I went in and let me actually show you in build mode what I did. I don't know how to use my controls. I put dishwashers in these counters here, but I sized them down so that it just looks like the top of the counter, and then I put these little crates in here as decorations to, I don't know, make it look a bit more cohesive. I think with the full counters there, it just looked really weird, and then I would have to add another one to cover this gap, but I feel like with them sized down and looking just like this, it's okay to have the gap in the back. Not perfect, but not bad either. So yeah, that's the whole kitchen, and then we can go into the, oh, I'm sorry, I'm really shit at these controls. Oh no, I forgot wallpaper in there. Well, it happens. Bathrooms, like I said, I just rearranged them very minimally after the recording finished. And yeah, they're very sparsely decorated as well. Back deck. The pool pavilion out here, which I think looks super neat. Not at all what I thought the pool was going to look like when I started this build, but I really like how it turned out. And then the dining pavilion over here, you can come straight through and just see all the picnic tables and everything. Apparently I forgot some clutter on that one, it's fine. And someone's already made hot dogs. Love that. Grill, all that's fun stuff. And then pretty much the only other thing is the shower area in here, like I mentioned. And very, very simple. Discover University showers. Love them. Thought they were perfect for this. And the fishing spot, which, like I said, does actually function. So you can see all the fish running around out here. So yeah, that's the build. That's what it looks like from the back, top, front, all the good stuff. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and please stick around if you did. Subscribe, hit that like button, follow me on Twitter and Twitch, both of which will be linked in the description down below. I post pretty much daily updates about what I'm building and what Speedbuilds I'm working on Twitter, and then stream Sims content and some other variety content on Twitch from time to time when I am available. So yeah, I will let you guys go and watch the screenshots of all the details that I like. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next video.